Hey church, I'm excited to tell you a little bit about Family Month at South Hills. Every year, we dedicate a whole month toward pursuing healthier families. For you, that could be family of origin, the family you are currently or one day hope to build, or even your chosen family that you do life with on a daily basis. We all have these ideas about what families should be like, but sometimes the way we think things ought to be isn't how they really are. If you've ever wondered if your family is doing it all wrong, or maybe had the thought, am I in the wrong family altogether? You're not alone. Starting today and throughout the rest of October, we're going to dive headfirst into the tough questions. We'll explore what it means to have a healthy family, and by the end of it, I believe we'll all come out on the other side with families that are better, stronger, and healthier. We are also going to have a lot of fun. Each campus is hosting exciting events and opportunities for connection all month long. To learn more about all the fantastic stuff happening during Family Month, visit southhills.org and select your campus. And last but not least, there are 4 more weeks in October, which means you have plenty of time left to invite someone to join you for Family Month at South Hills Church.
Emery! Over the head. Can you put your pants on?
Have you seen Emery's bows?
Come on, man. I got pants.
But this time? No, we're not.
Here you go. Where's your other shoe? I got underneath the trampoline. How'd it get in there? All right, let's go.
The kids.
Guys, let's go.
Every single way.
We're so close. It's Saturday, isn't it?
Yep.
Farts! Well, let's just chalk this up to a trial run, huh? Who wants ice cream?
All right, that was awesome. That was our senior pastor, Pastor Moses, and we definitely need to get him a Dodgers cap. We can't have him wearing the Indians. I don't know what's going on. Any other Dodgers fans? All right, come on. Any Angels fans? My condolences. Really quick, I've got a really cool thing. Now, some churches give out stickers. Ooh. We give out license plate frames. Dave and Karen Scott made these, and on your way out, everybody gets to get one, okay? They are free. Grab one, put it on your car. South Hills, San Clemente. That is us, okay? How cool is that? Can we hear for these two guys? I mean, that's awesome, right? How cool is that? I love it. That's awesome. So make sure you pick one up and put that on your car, because stickers are just, but hey, license plate frames, that's cool. So we are starting Family Month today. I'm excited about this. It's going to be a terrific month for us. There's 5 weeks in October, and that means we are going to feed you all of those 5 weeks. We've got menus that are to die for. Next week, we have got chefs coming in from Las Brisas to make you brunch. That or Del Taco, whatever. But the point is that we are going to feed you every week, and we want you to come here and that you guys could all be well fed and have fun. Honestly, why do we do food? I like to hang out and have some food and hang out with people. It's easier. It just is. So that's why we have it. So make sure that you come out and you're enjoying that with us. Now, as we start Family Month, I'm going to ask you a quick question, and that is this. Has any of you ever had social media envy? And here's what I mean by that. Have you ever scrolled through social media and said, how come they're going on these trips and we are not going on these trips? How come they have those beautiful memories at the beach and we never go to the beach? How come they're at the nice restaurant and we never go? Have you ever had social media envy? It's like, wow, the Joneses just went to Paris. It's like, well, fine. Well, then I'll take you to Lake Paris tomorrow. Well, that's the difference. It's not the same thing. Or, you know what? The Thompsons are in Hawaii. Fine, let's go to Hawaiian Gardens and have lunch. It's not the same thing, right? is a little bit different, right? It's just not the same thing. Now, here's what most of us would do. What we would do is we would say, I will take pictures in Hawaii or Paris because those are really cool places, but I'm not going to take a selfie at Lake Paris. I'm not going to take a selfie at like Hawaiian Gardens. Why? It's not good enough because we've got to post this online. And I want the good stuff out there. And then we think, man, our life stinks. Now think about this for a second. The more uneventful our lives feel, the more unbelievably happy everyone else's appears. Have you ever noticed that? Everyone else seems like they have the good life. I got stuck with the wrong end of the stick. Now, I say appears because social media does not tell the truth. Appears happy or appears better. Appears of that way. Like we saw in that clip. You don't have to show your hands, but have you ever gotten in a fight right before church with your family? Yeah. All right, thanks. Some of you guys. I have. Okay. And it's the worst, right? Because you have to appear like you're all good when you get to church. So it's like you're in the parking lot. What did you say? I can't believe you said that about my mother. Well, she shouldn't get involved in our business. And then you're like fighting back and forth. And then all of a sudden you see somebody waving. You're like, hey, good. We can't wait to go in. All right. Love you, bro. Yeah. And in the meantime, you're not talking to your spouse, your significant other. Why do we do that? Because we want to give the impression that we're good or that we're happy. Everything's fine. We like to do that at church, especially. We're all good. Now, remember this. When we're inside a moment that is not quite what we thought it was going to be, we wonder if we're in the wrong family because obviously in a good family, everyone is mostly happy. Isn't that true? Are we in the wrong family? Because in the good families, everybody's happy. It says so on social media. And so if I'm not happy right now, then you know what? I'm probably in the wrong family. It can't be me. I just got stuck in the wrong family. Now, nobody thinks when they get married on their wedding day, I can't wait till the tarnish wears off a little. I cannot wait for years from now when my spouse says, not tonight, I have a headache. I can't wait till I tell my kids to go to bed and they say, no, this isn't fair, and slam the doors. Or when I have a teenager and I say, you can't go to the party, and they say, I hate you. I can't wait for those memories. We don't say that. We don't. But those things actually happen. Right? That's what it looks like to be in life. And then we think, well, isn't something the matter here with my life? Because I'm supposed to be happy all the time. I mean, come on, it's in our Constitution. I need to be happy all the time. This isn't fair. Now, if happiness is the goal, I want you to remember this, then any frustration or discomfort feels like a red flag. So if you're not making me happy, it's okay for me to blame you, ignore you, or leave you. If you're not making me happy, then I could blame you, I could ignore you, and I can leave you because the goal is for me to be happy. Now, friends, if you think that the goal of who God is in the Bible is to make you happy, then unfortunately you have to actually rip most of it out because the advice you get from the Bible isn't going to make any sense. Okay? So you got to take most of it out, right? But God just wants me to be happy. He does. Well, then most of his advice isn't very good. Okay, let me show you what I'm saying. Ephesians 5:21. For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. That's true. Okay, we know that's where we're at. We have power, love, and self-discipline. But it goes on to say in 5:24, Ephesians 5:24. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. See, some of you don't even want to laugh because you're like, is she sitting next to me? Can I laugh at her? Okay, so I didn't write it, okay? This is what it says, okay? This is what it says. And unfortunately, a lot of guys live their life with that only. And they don't want to read the very next verse. They just want to stop right there. The very next verse says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Okay? That's what it says. Now, listen to me. If you love your wife like Christ loved the church, there's a couple things here. One, for people that go, I don't need church. Church is dumb. I'm just going to do it by myself. The Bible's referring to as the bride of Christ. Evidently, he thinks it's pretty important. You might want to check it out, okay? But if you could take it a step further, okay, if you're a wife here and your husband loves and honors you like Christ loved the church, sure, you may make him make a few more decisions, right? I'll follow you a little bit more. If you're gonna love me like Jesus loved the church, sure. Okay, but it goes on to say this as well, okay? Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy a long life on earth. Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. Now, if your goal, or if we think the goal of a Christian is to always be happy, this is not good advice. Why? Do you enjoy submitting all the time? I don't. I like doing what I like doing. I like buying what I like to buy. I like to do what I like to do. I like to if I want to watch a football game all day, I'm going to watch a football game all day. I'm sorry. I'm not going to, Melanie. I'm sorry. But the point is that it's not always good to submit. It's not always fun, and it doesn't make you always happy. That's the thing. And we think, well, I should be happy all the time. Look what it says here in John 10:10. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. That's what God wants you to have. He wants you to have a fulfilled life, not just a happy life. And there's a difference, and I'm gonna get into that in a second. But he wants you to have this fulfilled life. Now, if you look around right now in our culture of the broken homes, of the foster care, kids in foster care, if you look at the teen suicide rates, friends, right now, just today alone, 6,000 marriages are gonna end today. What am I saying? I'm saying is culture's way of doing family isn't working. It just isn't working. You see what's out there? And I think it's important to understand the difference between happiness and fulfillment. So let's first break this down. Happiness is a fleeting feeling of pleasure rooted in getting what you want. So when the Amazon package comes, you're happy for a moment. When you get the new jacket, you're happy for a moment. When your team wins the Super Bowl, like my Los Angeles Rams did, you are happy. Or when my Dodgers won the World Series, we just keep winning. Anyway, you're happy when your team wins, right? Or my USC Trojans dominating Colorado yesterday, a little closer than I wanted, but whatever. You're happy in that moment. In that moment, you are happy. It's true. But what does it mean to be fulfilled? Fulfillment is a sustained sense of contentment rooted in wisdom, camaraderie, and purpose. So here's the difference. Happiness is an emotion. It comes and goes. But fulfillment is a state of being. It's who you are, okay? Happiness is about desire, whereas fulfillment is about meaning. And happiness is based on preferences, but fulfillment is based on your values. It's very different, okay? So in God's mind, guys, the purpose of family isn't to always make us happy, but to help us become holistically healthy. I'm sorry. The purpose of family is not to make us all happy, but to become holistically healthy. There's a difference, okay? God's motive for your family is not just so you'll be happy all the time. That's not, because you're not going to be. But he wants you to be healthy, and there's a difference there, okay? That's what God's purpose is for our families, and that's what our purpose should be as well. Now, pursuing fulfillment typically results in happiness. When you pursue fulfillment, typically it results in happiness. But the same is not true on the inverse. If you pursue happiness, you're not going to be fulfilled. It's actually going to rob your fulfillment away from you, okay? Now, here's why it's important to understand this. If we're not careful, we'll end up chasing a feeling instead of doing what's fulfilling. Right now, in our culture, we are extra sensitive, whiny babies. Why? Because we just want to be happy. And we're chasing emotions all over the place, right? That's what we're doing. And we're not looking at what's fulfilling, okay? We've got to look at that. Now, we hear, I just want you to be happy. Have you ever heard that? Guys, if somebody's ever told you that, I promise you their heart is probably in the totally right place. I'm sure they care about you. I'm sure they love you. And this is something that is a very sweet thing to say and hear. I just want you to be happy. It sounds so good. The problem is, it doesn't really make any sense, because what you're literally saying was, I just want you to have brief stints of joy in your otherwise horrible life. But I just want you to every now and then have a little stint of goodness at your otherwise depressing life, okay? Or you could say, I want them to be fulfilled. I want them to have the life God wants for them. I want that to last. You know, what's the difference here? What's the difference here? Abram and Lot, okay? they have accumulated so much stuff. These are relatives that they said, okay, it's time for us to go our separate ways because we've had so many things. So they go, says this. Now Lot, who was moving about with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents, but the land could not support them while they stayed. Possessions were so great that they were not able to stay together, and quarreling arose between Abraham and the Perizzites, were also living. So Abram said to Lot, let's not have any quarreling between you and me, or between our herders and my herders and your herders, for we are close relatives. Is not the whole land before you? Let's part company. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. And if you go to the right, I'll go to the left. Okay? So what he's saying is you pick what's best for your family, Lot. Okay? If you go that way, fine. I'll go the other way. Just you go ahead and you choose. Okay? Remember this, guys. The decisions you make are dependent on the priorities you have, values you hold, and goals you pursue. So whatever decisions you're making for your family, I guarantee you they're rooted in one of these ways. They're either the values you have or the goals you have or what you pursue. But that's what is going to be the basis of your decisions, okay? So let's see what Lot decides to do. Genesis 13:10 says this. Lot looked around and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan towards Zor was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, he looks for the best deal. He looks for what's the best, prettiest, nicest place. That's what what has the best property, best. Notice also that the author is giving you some foreshadowing that this stuff, even if it looks great, isn't what it appears. God's going to actually destroy this part of the land. And then we jump here to Genesis 13:11 and 13 and then 18. So Lot chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan and set out toward the east. The two men had parted company. Now, the people of Sodom were wicked and were sinning greatly against the Lord. So Abram went to live near the great trees of Mamre and Hebron, where he pitched his tents. There he built an altar toward the Lord. So Lot was the place that looks great, high property, very flashy, but probably not the best place you want to raise a family. But it looks great, okay? Lot goes, I'll go wherever you don't want to go, but wherever I go, I'm going to worship God. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm gonna choose to do that, okay? I'm gonna honor God with wherever I go. There's a pattern here. And it's the difference between being happy and fulfilled. One wants the new flashy thing. The other one says, wherever I go, I'm going to worship God. Now, it doesn't really say much else about this, and you have to actually jump several chapters to chapter 19. But there's a reason for that. Usually when your decisions happen, a lot of times they don't have immediate consequences or results. You see this over some time. So things settle in, and then we see this back up in chapter 19. It says this, Genesis 19:1. The two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. When he saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. My lords, he said, please turn aside to your servant's house. You can wash your feet and spend the night, and then go on your way early in the morning. No, they answered, we'll spend the night in the square. Okay, now if you don't know what's going on here, basically it's like this. Lot's like, uh-oh, angels are here. Hey, come inside to my house. It's great. You're going to love it. I'll wash your feet. I'll give you new clothes. I'll feed you. Why don't you come inside? But don't spend the night in the town square. No, you don't want to do that. I can kind of relate to this. Melanie and I took the girls to our college where we met. And they go, we want to see where you live. So Melanie showed them the dorms. Then Melanie showed her old sorority house. And they said, well, what about you, Daddy? So I took them to the fraternity house that I lived in. But we took pictures in the front of the house, but they wanted to go inside. I'm like, you don't need to go inside, okay? It's just a bunch of beds and TVs and things like that. And no, we want to go inside. I'm like, no, let's just enjoy the beauty of the outside. There's nothing to see in there. But you did touch the door, so go ahead and get the sanitizer out and everything. So it's one of those things where you don't want to see that. That's what Lot is doing. You don't want to go to the town square. You're tired. Take a load off. Just come inside. And they're like, no, we'll stay out there. Now, we jump here in Genesis 19:4. Before they had gone to bed, all the men from every part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. They called to Lot, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so we can have sex with them. Okay, that wasn't in the brochure. Right? When they were looking at the land, it wasn't like, hey, they're all right, there's some nightlife here. I don't know how crazy it gets, but It's like, all right. So obviously they're taking a turn for a different direction. Now, it is very easy, and a lot of times people, when they talk about Sodom and Gomorrah, they talk about the sexual depravity and all the promiscuity and all the other stuff. But what's very interesting, guys, if you look at this, when it's referenced again in the Old Testament by Old Testament prophets, that's actually not the thing that they highlight. Look at this. In Ezekiel 16:49, it says this. Now this was the sin of your sister Sodom. She and her daughters were arrogant, overfed, and unconcerned. They did not help the poor and the needy. They were haughty, Haugty, and did detestable things before me. Therefore, I did away with them as you have seen. So it doesn't really talk a lot about the sexual depravity. It actually is highlighting something different. He's saying here is, you know what? They just wanted to be happy. And it made them prideful. It made them gluttons. It made them lazy. That's what he's actually highlighting in Ezekiel. It made them Okay, and those shouldn't be ours either. And unless you intentionally aim away from it, you're going to get overwhelmed by it, I promise you. If you are not intentionally trying to aim away from it, you're going to get overwhelmed by it. So let's look at what these things mean, okay? Because I'm going to tell you what they mean, what they did, and then I'm going to give you the inverse of what that is, what God wants for us. Now, the first one is pride. Pride and what pride means. Pride means. Pride, if you ever see pride, this is what it means. The drive to be seen as superior as someone else. That's what pride is. It's the drive to be seen as superior than someone else. Gluttony, over-consuming anything to avoid your feelings. It could be shopping, it could be eating, it could be drinking, anything just to like numb my feelings right now. Laziness, responding to dissatisfaction with distraction in place of meaningful work. It's being lazy. And throughout the whole New Testament, when God talks about this vision for family, he actually repeatedly gives you the inverse of those three things. What's the inverse of pride, gluttony, and laziness? The first one is humility. It's the inverse of pride. A willingness to listen to and learn from others regardless of status. A willingness to listen and learn from others regardless of status. Contentment. Okay, that's the opposite of gluttony. A sense of gratitude and satisfaction with what you already have. And then service, it's actually the opposite of laziness. Working to benefit others without expecting anything in return. Now, these three ideas appear over and over and over in the early church. When you're getting instruction for the early church, these three ideas always appear. In Philippians 2:3, it says this. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves. Not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. That's our verse here of South Hills Church, okay? Not looking for your own interests, but the interests of others. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. So let me sum up what all of this is saying to you. The bullseye of family is to look as much like Jesus as possible. That's the goal. That's the bullseye, okay? I want to look as much like Jesus. Now, if you are running your family by saying, do whatever you want, anything goes, I don't care, that's not Jesus. If you're running your family going, I'm going to punish you, but here's what, that's this. That's this. Okay? So when you look at how you're living your family and how you're running your family, it's got to look as much like Jesus as possible. We do this by so first one, he tells us now, you know what, you pick first. Go ahead, Lot, pick first. Okay, that's humility. That's humility. And then you know what? No matter where I'm going to go, I'm going to honor God. Wherever I go, I'm honoring God. That is contentment. That's what he wants for us. Now, here's what I'm saying. Whatever you prioritize in your family shapes the outcome of your family. And to be clear, your priorities aren't what you say, they are what you do. I'm going to say that again. They are not what you say, they are what you do. I've been in ministry for almost full-time ministry for almost 20 years. And I was a campus pastor at another church several years ago. And when we started our youth ministry, it was at some really bad portables, and it was smelly and bad, and it wasn't very good. But we were like, hey, we're going to start this, and this is going to be our church, and we're starting it, right? And I had some parents say, you know what? It's just not a really good facility, so we're going to look for another church that has more of a facility. That's great. Guys, there are churches all over here that are doing some great, we're all on the same team, okay? If you're hopping around whoever's going to give you the best thing for that moment, that's okay as long as you commit to it. What I see though is parents going, you know what, we're looking for something better for my kids, but they don't go to church. And I always tell them the same thing, guy, that's fine. If you want to go somewhere for your wife or your kids or your spouse or whatever, great, but you've got to go. Okay, don't just say, well, we're going to look for something else so then they're taken care of. What about you? Are you going? And I tell them that's the same thing every single time. Listen, if it's not a priority for you, it will not be a priority for them. If sports and other events are a priority on Sunday, that's what's going to be their priority. They're going to model whatever they see you doing. So you pick whatever it is. Well, I just want them to read the Bible. What are you reading? I'm not reading anything. I'm working. Well, then it's your fault, dude. Because if you want them to read the Bible, you model it for them. Well, I want them to forgive their siblings. Are you forgiving people? I want them to go to church. Are you going to church? You got to model what that is. Okay? And if you don't, guys, honestly, and I've seen this in church for so many years, ask anybody who's served in ministry, what you see is this. You see people hopping from church to whoever is going to give me the best deal for this moment right now. And the second they're not giving me the best deal, I'm going to go to this church. They've got to offer me. And then I'm going to go to this. And if your idea of church is to hop around to whoever is going to give you the best deal, you're never ever going to get connected anywhere. Because you're just, who's going to give me something? Church. Remember, church of Christ. Okay. So wherever it is, you go get plugged in. Get into a group, start serving, start meeting people. Where you go get plugged in. Don't go to a church. Don't go to a church saying, what are you going to give me? Because if that's the case, and I've seen it a zillion times, I know I love this person, but I'm not going to see him very long. Because at some point, they're going to want something else. And they're just going to keep hopping around. So when you go, say, instead of saying, what are you going to give me? Go to church saying, what is it that I can give back to God here at this church? And if you do that, you're going to be great. You're going to find that church is going to give you what you were looking for. And you're also going to find you were a part of that solution. Because you're like, okay, how do you want to use me here? And wherever that is. So, if you're afraid when you go to church is not how can I serve God here, then you'll be hopping around from place to place, always looking to be happy, not looking to be fulfilled. Now, it's important to remember that these values are established by these three things. What we make our decisions based on, what we require of those we have authority over, and what we do in front of and alongside each other, okay? So we make our decisions, okay? Now, you may be thinking, well, this sounds wonderful. This sounds great. How am I supposed to do this? What does this look like? Well, I'm so glad you asked, class, because I'm going to give you what you can do. So let's talk about things that matter. Talk about things that matter. Set aside time. Things we have. Talk about things that matter. A great thing is all of you have a devotional. Does anybody actually eat dinner together as a family anymore? I don't know if that's still a thing. Melanie makes sure that we do, but okay, great. Get a devotional and go over the devotional with your family. It's awesome. These guys have worked so hard on these devotionals. Go over them with your family. Talk about it. Find out what does it mean to you, okay? You're not only going to go closer to them, you're going to go closer to your family. Number 2 is do stuff together that doesn't involve screens, okay? Now, here is why I'm so adamant about being at church. We have online church for a reason. And that is if you physically can't be here, maybe you physically can't make it due to your health. Maybe you can't make it because you have to work. Maybe you can't make it because you don't live close to here and you still want to be checking in on our service. I am so glad for that. But we cannot use online church as a church. Whenever I hear a big giant church say, this is our pastor of online church, I kind of laugh a little bit because I'm like, what is it that you do? Turn it on? I mean, I don't understand. How are you interacting with these people? How are you building community with these people? Here's the facts, guys. The best way you build community, you know it's crazy. You actually show up and actually meet each other. I know it sounds nuts, but by just showing up together, that's what builds community. That's how you do it. You gotta show up. You gotta be in it. So do I like online church? Of course I do. For people that simply can't be here. Do I like it for people that use it as going to church? No, it's lame. You're not building any community. I'd rather just unplug it, okay? And force people to show up and actually hang out together and be together and do life together. But for whatever reason, if they can't be here, I love it as an option. I know people that would love to be here, would love to. They just can't. They're traveling, they're sick, there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons. I love that we have that option. But if people are just using it just to go to, it's not. Go someplace where you can meet people. If we're on my family, this is what we do. We have a big comfy couch, and we all sit together on the couch, and we watch a movie together on the weekends. And the weekends are movie night weekends. And we block it out. We put the phones away. We put everything away. Melanie goes out and gets candy and popcorn, all these treats, and we just sit. These aren't all okay? Not at all. I mean, if I have to watch this movie that Piper picked, this Pokemon movie, I'd rather get my gum scraped than watch this movie again, okay? But like, here's the thing. I wouldn't trade those days and those moments and that time for anything. It's better than FaceTime. It's better than emailing or texting each other. It's just sitting together. All it is sitting together, and that's all it is, and it grows closer together. The next is make a list of what you like about each other and then tell them what's on it. Now, some of you go, that's a little bit corny. But Melanie and I do this a lot when the girls are fighting. They'll be screaming at each other about a toy or like, she hit me, no, I didn't, you're lying. No. And there's like fighting. And then we'll stop them, we'll go, Piper, what do you love about Phoebe? And then, Phoebe, what do you love about Piper? And it's hard to stay mad at somebody when that person just told you that they think you're funny, or they like your shoes, or they like the way you dress, or they like how you give good hugs or whatever. It's hard to stay mad at them because you're just saying these good things about each other. So try that out, okay? And the last one today we're gonna talk about is do things together that benefit someone else. In short, serve together as a family. This will bring you so close together, you guys. Oh man, this stuff, serving here at our church is awesome. Serving at, for an organization, a really good organization outside somewhere. But where I've probably seen this the most is when families serve together overseas, and then when they come back on a missions trip, they are always closer. And I can't say that for vacations, okay? Have you ever taken a family vacation where you're like, I'm ready to go back home and take you guys to school and get away from everybody, right? But I've always seen this in missions, where they go on a missions trip, they come back, and they're solid tight. There's something about serving together that brings the family closer together. When I started in my other campus, I didn't include Melanie on anything. I was like, we're off and running, and Melanie came to a service, and then she went home, but she was not involved in anything that I was doing. And often it was getting to be a hassle. She's like, hey, you're coming home late. You're not really, even when you're here, you're always looking at your emails, like, what's going on? It was not a very good scene. And I'd be up there telling people, you gotta serve together, and we're not even having dinner together, okay? And so when we started this campus, we made it a serve together. But you don't see like a little seat up front. This is pastor's wife on there. Melanie's here when I get here, and she leaves when I leave. And she plugs things in, and she's picking stuff up, and she's cleaning stuff out, and she's also the one last to leave, okay? We are serving together. Even our kids, Piper and Phoebe, Piper was putting all your programs on your chairs. We are serving together, guys. I have heard horror stories about pastors' kids that freaked me out because some of them are just nuts, okay? Looney Tunes. And so I'm like, what is going to happen when our kids, are they going to get mad? And why do they get like that, guys? Why do pastors' kids get like that? Because those kids realize that church and those people are more important than me. And that's why they get like that. For us, we are serving together. We're doing this together, and it's fun. It's actually bringing us very close together, okay? Now this month, is Family Month, okay? And all of these messages are gonna be geared toward increasing communication with each other, depending on God together, and really coming together as a family. That being said, though, the word family is going to be a trigger for some of you. Some of you are not gonna like the name Family Month. Some of you are gonna be triggered to not come to church on Family Month and wait till November because that name family triggers you. Maybe you grew up in a hostile family where they were controlling and they didn't trust you. And so family to you does not mean trust. Family to you means control and anger and yelling. Maybe some of you, family means you're mourning the loss of somebody, maybe a parent or a child or a loved one, and you're just like, that name family doesn't sound very good to you right now. And you're not really excited to go to a church to talk about family all month. Maybe you are going through a separation, a divorce, whatever that is, and you're just like, I don't really love this family name. I don't really love this Family Month title. If that's you, guys, please understand this. You have a family here. That's not a tagline. That's not a marketing scheme. That is what God has referred his church as. Go this place where people are open and they share and they get to know each other. I mean, last week was an example of that when I was admitting some of the stuff that I was really struggling with. I'm not afraid of that. And guys, if you're looking for like a pastor that is perfect and never loses his temper and is always has the whole Bible memorized and doesn't make any mistakes and pizza once in a while, I'm the wrong dude for you. I really am. That's just not going to work for me. I'm not perfect. I do have flaws. I do have mistakes. I don't have the Bible memorized. Have you ever seen me teach a message and then just say the verses off the top of my head? I don't have it memorized. I got to read these verses. I'm studying them all week, but I don't have it all memorized. Here's what I do, though. I do know that God brought me here to be your pastor, to shepherd you, to love you, to serve you. I know that. I'm good at that because that's how God gifted me to be. But I'm not more than that. I'm not this super prophet-y guy that's out there. I'm just a regular dude. But here's the thing. It's going to take you to say, okay, I want to be part of this family too. I want to be open too. I want to be known too. Because you're going to need that, guys. Life is going to kick you in the head. And when that happens, you need somebody to be right there next to you going, let's do this together. You're not going to go through this by yourself. You're not going to go through this loss by yourself. You're not going to go through this pain or this hurt by yourself. You're not. We're going to do this together. So guys, whatever connotation that family has for you, understand this. This here is a family that you can be yourself with. But it's going to take you showing up and being part of it. Like I said before, guys, whatever you focus on will grow. Whatever you focus on. You focus that life is just too hard and it's not fair, that's what's going to grow. You focus on, oh, church just wants my money and they also want my time, and they're a bunch of phonies, then that's what's going to grow. Well, if God was so loving, why did this happen or that happen? That's what you focus on is going to grow. Say, okay, let's be a church that focuses on trusting God. We're not going to be happy all the time. We're going to have some really bad days, but we can do this together, and we can grow together, and we can learn together. Please try not to miss one Sunday month, guys. I want to say just a special thank you for me having the opportunity. I am standing here because my family gives above and beyond, and shows up and invites and has events. When we just had one the other day, it was awesome. I am here as a result of this family coming together, not because Pastor James is so good, but because this family comes together and we says, we're going to do this together. That's why I get to do what I get to do and serve in this capacity. And I just want to say thank you. Let's pray. Father, I just thank you so much for this opportunity, this amazing church family that you've put together. I'm so excited what you have for your church, God. Totally belongs to you. It's all yours. And Father, I just pray that as we go through this month, if there's any triggers going on and anybody here in this church family that's struggling with this, I pray that we have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, God, that we could just come alongside them and let them know it's going to be okay, that we're all family here, that we love each other, that we're going to go through these trials together, and that we're going to come out of it stronger. God, you have big plans for your church, and I just want to say thank you that I get to be part of it. Father, I look forward to relationships being restored this month. I look forward to some health coming out of this. And God, when that happens, and it will, we're going to give you all the glory because it's solely because of you. We thank you and we love you. It's in your name, God.
South Hills Church, I just want to take a moment and say thank you for watching our service online. Whether you're watching it for the first time or you're watching it again because you enjoyed the service so much from the weekend, I'd like to take a moment and dive into our giving. Every week we give people the opportunity to give back and give to the local church so that God can continue to bless your lives and bless your finances. Here at South Hills, we believe that everything comes from God. We believe that He's the one that chose us and brought us into this world, gave us our gifts and talents and abilities. And I just want you to know that when we give, we are giving back what God has already given to us. If you've ever seen any of our envelopes at a South Hills campus, you'll see on there that it says, every week at South Hills, your generosity is giving people the opportunity to live a better story. And there's a scripture on there in Matthew chapter 6, verse 21 that says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So I want to encourage you today to click down below and set up your giving, whether it's for the first time or whether you're doing reoccurring giving. We have 4 ways to give here at South Hills. 1, you can do it in person at any of our campuses through an envelope. Or 2, you can actually text any amount that you would like to 84321. And the 3rd way is to download our Church Center app. I encourage you to do this one because the Church Center app gives you opportunity to stay connected with our church and your campuses. It's a great tool and resource for you to know what's going on. And the 4th way to give is to give online. You can go to southhills.org/give and you can set up your giving there. Whether you're a guest of our church or whether you are a member of our church, whether you simply just like to watch our services, I encourage you to trust God with your finances so that He can bless and anoint your finances and you can be trusting God in this journey of living life to the fullest. I love you and thank you for watching our online service today.